New Orleans Saints quarterback Tyler Shough has a legitimate shot at being named the 2025 Offensive Rookie of the Year.
You are Locked On Saints, your daily New Orleans Saints podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Who Dat Nation and Who Dat family? I am your host, your friend Ross Jackson, New Orleans native, your New Orleans Saints expert and credentialed member of the media covering those New Orleans Saints as the Saints beat writer over at LouisianaSports.net. And on today's episode of Locked On Saints, the Saints pass rush has an ability to reach new heights before the season is over. The New Orleans Saints defense as a whole has been on fire under defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, and we'll kick everything off with Tyler Shough, who has a legitimate shot at becoming the next Offensive Rookie of the Year. We got all that and a little bit of lanyap for you on today's episode. We appreciate you very much. Whether it's your first time or your next time being here with us this time, making it your first listen, and being an everydayer here on the show, which is a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks for helping us get here as we bring you your team every day. Today's episode brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel, where you can get in on all of the action all season long with the NFL. You can check out all those live bets throughout these NFL games as well over at FanDuel.com. You can go check them out today. New Orleans Saints rookie quarterback Tyler Shough has a real bid for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Over the course of, honestly, the last, I'm going to say 48 hours, but really it wasn't that long because it was going into the Jets game and coming out of the Jets game. So there's kind of a pre-Jets, post-Jets feel around Tyler Shough. The pre-Jets feel around Tyler Shough was him being the 5th best rookie in terms of odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, behind guys like Tetairoa McMillan, the wide receiver out of, not out of, but the wide receiver with the Carolina Panthers. He was also behind Emeka Egbuka, the wide receiver over in Tampa. He was behind Travion Henderson, the running back over with the New England Patriots. And he was also behind New York Jets quarterback Jackson Dart. Now, Tyler Shough has gone from the 5th best odds at plus 1,600 to the 2nd best odds at plus 390. And the only player that he's behind is wide receiver Tetairoa McMillan, who's got a sizable lead. He's actually at minus 340, so he's heavily favored, which means you can still get money by betting on Tyler Shough here. But Tyler Shough has a couple of big advantages. Number one, he's a quarterback. Offensive awards are typically quarterback awards, maybe with the exception of Offensive Player of the Year, because MVP is a quarterback award. And so the NFL tries to play nice and then make the Offensive Player of the Year award basically the MVP non-QB award. And he has been outstanding so far this season. He's number 1 amongst his amongst the New Orleans Saints when it comes to rookie records, rookie passing metrics. He's number 1 in passing attempts. He's number 1 in completions. He's number 1 in passing yards. He's number 1 in passing touchdowns. He owns the franchise records in all of those categories and currently would own or earn, as long as things don't bottom out here over the course of the next 2 games against Tennessee and Atlanta. Pretty favorable matchups there, but those are on the road. If he doesn't bottom out, he will also hold the Saints' rookie completion percentage record, and he'll have the best rookie passer rating of any of the 11 qualifying Saints rookie quarterbacks in their history. Now, obviously, what a quarterback does or what a rookie does relative to his team doesn't really factor very much into what's going on when it comes to Offensive Rookie of the Year and end-of-year awards. However, you look across the landscape of rookie quarterbacks that have started at least 1 game. That's now 8 rookie quarterbacks from this class, by the way. And all of a sudden, you have Tyler Shough up at the top when it comes to completion percentage. Tyler Shough up near the top when it comes to pass rating. Like, he's also trending in the right direction against his own class. He's proven so far with 4 wins, which is more wins than any rookie quarterback so far this season, that he can win games as a rookie quarterback better than any of the other rookie quarterbacks have done so far this year. And so Tyler Shough has a real shot, a legitimate shot at winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. I suggest you get in on the odds while they're still not necessarily having him as the most favored. My good friend Matt Williamson and I discussed this over on Locked On NFL a couple days ago. He caught it at plus 1,600. Applause, applause, applause. Let's take a look at some of the things that Tyler Shough did this week as well. Not just like the whole thing. I mean, when we're telling this story about the win over the New York Jets, 29-6, Tyler Shough can't be left out. First 300-yard passing game of his career, was also the first New Orleans Saints quarterback to throw for 300 plus yards in a game, 308 in total since 2023, exactly 2 years to the day separated, December 21st, 2023, December 21st, 2025. We talked about how he was going to go up against a Jets defense that was going to play a large amount or a large percentage of man coverage. Not that it's the most of what they play. It's actually the majority of what they play is still zone coverage, which is true across the NFL, but they were zone heavy in that they were over 30%. They were in the top 5 across the NFL when it came to man coverage use. And against man coverage, he was 7 of 8 for 96 yards and a touchdown with a 156.3 passer rating. Near perfect. And by the way, we were talking about attacking between the numbers in those opportunities, those crossing routes, things like that. 4 out of his 8 attempts against man coverage were in between the numbers. And when we talk about man coverage, we're talking about like cover 1, cover 0, cover 2 man. So some things like goal line and stuff like that are probably left out of this equation or left out of these statistics. But the main thing is a large portion of his, nearly a third of his passing yards and his passing touchdown all came against man coverage. That man coverage play call or that touchdown play call against man coverage was perfect. Chris Olave kind of running that inside fade with a couple of rub routes happening over on the outside. Perfect call against man coverage because the corner can't work his way through all of the congestion. It's exactly what we talked about. You create congestion at the line of scrimmage. You create congestion on the inside of the field. You create congestion in between the numbers, and that's going to end up creating some open receiver opportunities for you. And that's how he found Chris Olave down the right sideline in the second half. We also mentioned that when they do face zone, that they would face a lot of cover 3 zone. According to our friends over at True Media, he was 11 for 17 against zone coverage, only for 48 passing yards. So it was a lot of underneath work, but 10 out of those 17 passing attempts between the numbers, just like we talked about. So really excellent stuff there from Tyler Shough. He was also pressured a career low 17% of dropbacks according to Next Gen Stats. Why? Because he got 23 of his passes out in less than 2.5 seconds. Quick pass game. Did a lot for him. 19 of 23 on those quick passes, 195 passing yards, and his touchdown were all on quick passes. And that touchdown, by the way, on a 2.5 second, less than 2.5 seconds that was a whole concept that had to develop. So good job by both Tyler Shough and Kellen Moore putting them in that position. It's games like this that have furthered Tyler Shough's Rookie of the Year bid, which I truly believe he's got a shot at by the time that the season is all said and done. The New Orleans Saints defense has been taking shots and getting shots all throughout this season. I want to break down what has been a really fantastic stretch of games by defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. Let's get to that next. We continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Hey, NFL Sundays can move really fast, right? Just one big play and all of a sudden everything is different. That's what makes live betting over at FanDuel so exciting because you're not just watching the game, you are reacting to it in real time. Let's say there's a real heavy favorite going into a game and they start off a little bit sluggish, but the game is still within punching distance for them. You might actually see the line move in your favor. You can get in on that during the game over at FanDuel.com, where money lines and live spreads adjust instantly and prop bets even update as guys heat up or cool down. You can get in on all of it over at FanDuel.com today. So if you want to get into the middle of the action here as the season continues on, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long over at FanDuel, where the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, family, the New Orleans Saints defense is on fire. On fire with defensive coordinator Brandon Staley. I cannot stress enough. It's time to start appreciating Brandon Staley while he's still a defensive coordinator. I cannot stress that enough. We appreciate you very much, as always, being here with us, making us your first listen and being an everydayer club here for you. Exclusive content and a ton more that you can check out. Head over to lockedonsaints.supercast.com to learn more. You can even get ad-free episodes as well and get access to our exclusive Discord. Man, Brandon Staley's defense is really good. It's really, really good. And I loved what Jonas Sanker said after the game, where he was talking about how competitive Brandon Staley is, but beyond that was also discussing the conversation on the sideline right before the possession where he got his interception. Jonas Sanker, of course, the rookie safety who has been thrust into a larger role and has been excellent. He was the highest graded defender, actually the highest graded Saints player, 92.2 by Pro Football Focus after this game between the Saints and the Jets. He said before going out on the field for that possession that the coaches on the sideline, Staley included, said, hey, if you see 3-by-1, meaning 3 receivers on one side, 3 pass catchers on one side, 1 route runner over on the other side, watch out for the special, crossing the field, down the field, going from one side to the other, trying to hit that landmark in the seam. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened when they saw that 3-by-1. And Jonas Sanker, remember what the coaching said? Remember what he was told on the sideline? Saw it, broke on it, got the interception. This has been the hallmark of the New Orleans Saints defense. They have looked prepared. They have looked studied, learned going in, and it has translated, particularly over the course of the past few games. Shout out to my good friend Luke Johnson over at NOLA.com. Since week 10 of the season, Luke Johnson, he was wearing shell toes the other day. I was so hyped. That's my dude right there. Since week 10, number 2 in points per game, 15.8. Number 1 in total yards allowed per game, 258.7, nearly 20 yards allowed per game better than the number 2 team, the Minnesota Vikings. So not only are they really good, but they've separated themselves over the course of this streak of games. And really, you can go back to starting with the New England Patriots game when Chase Young was back, and this team is top 5, top 10 in several key metrics, but it doesn't stop there. We did this the other day where I kind of ran down a bunch of things. Listen to this. It's gotten better somehow. Number 1 pass defense in the league in yards allowed per game, just over 130. Number 16 versus the run, allowed just 3.2 yards per carry to Breece Hall and the New York Jets offense. The one thing that offense had going for it was Breece Hall and how good that run game can be. And the Saints took it away. Breece Hall was under 50 yards, under 60 yards in the game. So number 16 versus the run since week 10. Remember what we've always said on the show. We've said this for years now. You'd rather have a middle-of-the-road rushing defense and a top passing defense in this NFL, in this league, in today's NFL. And right now, that's exactly what the Saints have had over the course of this last stretch of games. And they're also, by the way, number 8 in sacks, number 4 in touchdown to interception ratio, number 7 in completion percentage, 60%, and number 5 in passer rating allowed. I want to focus on completion percentage and passer rating allowed. Because if you look at weeks 1 through 9, so this includes some of the games from when the schedule started to lighten up for New Orleans a little bit, right? It's got the tough games in the early portion of the season. It includes the Rams game, but also has those games where it kind of started to lighten up after the first 4 weeks. When the Saints, when you look at their completion percentage allowed over the course of weeks 1 through 9, they were number 26 in the NFL, 68.3%. Since week 10, number 7 in the NFL at just 60%, an 8.3% change. Passer rating allowed during that time, number 29 in the NFL with a 107.2 passer rating. Now, the Saints are hovering around 70. Really excellent stuff from this New Orleans Saints defense over the course of this most recent stretch of games. And a lot of it has to do with the players individually. Absolutely. Chase Young has been awesome. 7 sacks on the season, got another one. They had 8 sacks in last week's game I keep doing that. It was 2 days ago, Ross. In Sunday's game up against the New York Jets. You had the 2 takeaways in the game as well. The one of which, as we're talking about pressure and things like that, Nathan Shepard with the sack fumble, right? Recovered by Chase Young. Big day for Chase Young. Chase Young got a game ball. He looked across the locker room, held the ball up to Nathan Shepard, said, "Thanks, Shep." Because not only did Chase Young have a sack, but he had the fumble recovery because of what Nathan Shepard did. Cam Jordan, 2 sacks. How about Isaiah Stallbird? Excellent. I loved this play on the defensive side. They had Isaiah Stallbird lined up over a wide receiver, split out. They blitzed him from the cornerback spot, like slot-ish cornerback spot. Carl Granderson takes the wide arc, which opens up the gap between the tackle and the guard because the tackle's got to get outside to get in front of Carl Granderson. Isaiah Stallbird just shoots the gap. And how about this? Didn't over-pursue the quarterback. We're going to see Brandon Staley on Wednesday. I can't wait to ask him about it. It was also, we cracked a joke about it a few press conferences ago. But Isaiah Stallbird gets into the backfield, gets the sack. How about Alontae Taylor running the arc around the edge, getting his 7th sack, most sacks in franchise history by a cornerback for the Saints. Brandon Staley's done such a good job putting these players in their best position to make plays and putting these players in position to succeed. Kool-Aid McKinstry was targeted 8 times in this game, allowed just 4 receptions, had a pass breakup, and allowed 1 long catch of 20-plus yards. And that was it. Still allowed under 50 yards total in the game. Kool-Aid McKinstry did. And so you have Jonas Sanker, who's seeing and reading defenses because he's being prepped over on the sideline. You got Justin Reed rushing the passer and making leaping, batted, passes at the line of scrimmage. You got Isaiah Stallbird shooting gaps. You got Alontae Taylor running the arc and getting sacks. You got the defensive line feasting on a rookie quarterback. You have the middle of the defense standing tall. Demario Davis with several big tackles and big hits in this game. Brandon Staley has put this defense in position to play its best football yet. And to be fair, or to tell the truth, I'm not sure he has the personnel to even run the system that he's running. But it's happening. You know why? Because it doesn't matter what system you run, tackling is tackling, rushing the passer is rushing the passer, and forcing turnovers is forcing turnovers. And that's the way that Brandon Staley has this defense thinking. And now they're playing free. And they're going out there and they're being put in position to succeed. And you know what they're doing with that opportunity? They're succeeding. And because they're succeeding, the pass rush has an opportunity to reach an even new height for what they've seen so far this season and doing something that they've not done since 2022. Let's get to that next. We continue on with today's episode of Locked On Saints, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Saints brought to you by friends over at Car Gurus. CarGurus.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Everything that you want in your life, you can order from home. Groceries, food delivery, new computers, keyboards, electronics, housing supplies, all of it. You can get a car online now. Yeah, you can. With our friends over at Car Gurus. This sounded better in my head than it does now, but you know what? I'm going to roll with it. Car Gurus, you know why? Because Car Gurus is awesome. It sells itself. Doesn't have to have a good pitch. They have the most options across any online automobile marketplace out there. Over 4 million listings. They make sure that you have a transparent and hassle-free car buying experience that's hard to find in person. That's why you want to head over to Car Gurus today. Buy or sell your car today at CarGurus.com. Don't be mad at me, Car Gurus. That's CarGurus.com, CarGurus.com. Let's get it, Who Dat Nation. Take a look at some of the numbers behind the victory for the New Orleans Saints, and the defense was so good I had to give it 2 segments. The Saints defense did a couple of things that were really impressive, but it's what they can do next that I think is equally impressive, something they've not done since 2022. We appreciate you very much for being here. Make this your first listen, being an everydayer here on the show. You're looking for a good holiday gift? Everydayer Club, good way to go. All access or just ad free, whichever one you want to check out. You can head over to lockedonsaints.supercast.com and click the link in the description to learn more. The New Orleans Saints have 37 sacks on the season. It's not an overwhelming number, but it is a better number than we have seen in the past with 2 games still left to go. The Saints need 3 sacks in 2 games before the season is over to finally reach 40 sacks in a season. That might not sound like a lot, but for the New Orleans Saints, they've not done that since 2022. Not so coincidentally, Ryan Nielsen's last year with the New Orleans Saints, and Todd Grantham took over after that. Let me tell you a little story about Todd Grantham. So, we all know that there have been issues, or that there were issues between Todd Grantham and Cam Jordan. I believe Cam Jordan said after Sunday's game against the Jets that he almost body slammed him at one point. I assume he didn't specifically say Todd Grantham, but I assume that's who he was talking about, because the beef between Cam Jordan, I shouldn't even say between Cam Jordan and Todd Grantham. I should just say the beef from Cam Jordan to Todd Grantham. Although, you know what? He tried to make him a nose tackle. So no, the animosity between Todd Grantham and Cam Jordan, well noted. But when it was the Senior Bowl a few years ago, right? Yeah, it was a Senior Bowl going into the 2023 season where we learned that Todd Grantham was going to be hired on to be the defensive line coach. And of course, like Todd Grantham during his Florida days and all that wasn't great as a defensive coordinator. They had this whole thing called like 3rd and Grantham, I think is what it was called, to where it was like, all right, well, if it's 3rd down, it doesn't matter what the distance is. Todd Grantham's a defensive play caller. He's a defensive coordinator. They're going to pick up the 1st down. Like, it was that kind of attitude around it. It was kind of like how like 2nd and Carmichael was always like, if it's 2nd and 10 off an incomplete pass, they're running the football. Like, it was that kind of a thing. And I remember I had multiple Florida State, or not Florida State, I'm sorry. If it was Florida State players, I would have known what was up. But there were multiple, like numerous Florida players that reached out to me just through like channels and social media and everything like that. Because, you know, we have like the whole network here on Locked On. We cover everything. My great friend Brandon Olson is the host of Locked On Gators. We hang out all the time. We would go to Mobile, go to the Senior Bowl. So you meet all these players over the course of time through networking and everything like that. And so they would hit me up and they'd say, you know, it was a great hire. Fantastic hire. Because the thing was that they were saying like, well, he wasn't a good defensive coordinator, but as a defensive line coach, it's kind of his specialty. Like, he'll have those guys playing. And I heard that through DMs. I heard that face to face. I heard that through text messages, phone calls, all that. And those years went terribly. And so I think my new rule now is either don't believe, I'm not going to say don't believe Florida Gators players. I'm not going to go that far, but maybe don't believe players from college telling you that this player is a good hire. I don't know. I got to figure out what my lesson is from that. But it's such a funny thing in this business to where like, yeah, you get all those votes of confidence. And then all of a sudden, like, you just never know. You just never know if somebody's truly a fit. And it's so clear that Grantham was just not a fit. Now, maybe the coaching would have been better had he have been a fit, all these other things. But then he also got that job at Oklahoma State as a defensive coordinator or whatever it was, and then didn't hold on to that job for even a year. And so it is what it is. But I remember getting all of those reach outs like, oh, it's such a good hire. This is awesome. Like, Saints fans should be really excited, all this other stuff. And what a disaster. I mean, just a disaster. So I don't know what the lesson from that is, but I thought it was an interesting story, so I wanted to share it. The Saints only needing 3 sacks is notable. to crack 40 sacks for the first time since 2022 because they're about to go up against Cam Ward. And Cam Ward is a really talented player, number 1 overall selection. I know that things aren't going great for him over in Tennessee, but you'll hear from Tyler Rowland on Thursday when we do our crossover that Tennessee's not exactly overall doing well. It's not a Cam Ward problem. It's a Tennessee Titans problem. But Cam Ward's been sacked 51 times so far this season. Number 2 in the NFL. He's only 1 shy of Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Geno Smith, who's got 52. He's been sacked 52 times. And so getting 3 sacks in this upcoming game is not impossible. Then they go up against Kirk Cousins, who doesn't really have a lot of evasive maneuvers available to him, things like that. So like getting 3 sacks or more is a real thing, especially when you're coming off of a hot game like the one against the Jets where you had 8 sacks on the season. The Saints in that game against the Jets had a 72.7% pressure to sack ratio, one of the highest tracked by by Next Gen Stats. And the Saints are still number 4 in the NFL in pressure to sack conversion rate. So they've been excellent when it comes to that. They're getting pressure, but they're also finishing plays at the quarterback, which is something that they just couldn't do the last couple of years under you know who. And so, Saints in a much, much better place here and have an ability to reach new heights before the season is over. All right, family, time for a little bit of lanyap for you. Those of you that are the real ones that made it all the way to this point in the episode. I just got one more stat that I wanted to share with you that I think is just a pretty cool kind of example of where the Saints are now versus where they were. We were speaking going into the New York Jets game about the Saints being able to win their 3rd game in a row in a single season. I'm always really specific about that because from 2023 into 2024, they won the last couple of games in that year and then won the first couple of games the year before that. So that's over the stretch of 2 seasons, but technically is 4 wins in a row. 3 wins in a row, 4 wins in a row, whatever it was. And, but despite that, I'm talking about in a single season, right? So that's why I was just explaining my pedanticism and all that. But the Saints now going into Tennessee, going up against 3-12 Tennessee Titans, who just beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they weren't the same Kansas City Chiefs, but weird nonetheless. They have the chance to win 4 games in a row for the first time in a single season since 2020. Drew Brees' last year. Now, I'm not evoking the name of Drew Brees because of anything, but like, it just kind of goes to show that the Saints have not done a very good job of finding a way to sustain success since the sustained success left. And the sustained success around the New Orleans Saints, I'm really proud of myself for all of that, by the way, for the New Orleans Saints over the course of that decade and a half was pinnacleized, embodied by Drew Brees. And so I'm not trying to say that the Saints are seeing Drew Brees kind of hope, but Cam Jordan said something Sunday night that I think is really important, that when you lose a lot, it's hard to remember how to win. I'm paraphrasing. But once you learn how to win, things become repeatable. And the Saints are on the verge of being this kind of repeatable for the first time since someone really, really important was in that building. That's what I will say. And I just think that's really cool for Saints fans who have waited this long from that point to this point. It should mean something that the Saints are finally back to this place out of nowhere, it seemingly, where they're stringing together consecutive wins at a rate that they haven't in 5 years. All right, y'all, we appreciate you being here with us in tomorrow's episode, going through some of the film notes after my film watch on Wednesday. If you want some of the illustrations, all that kind of stuff, you can head over to lockedonsaints.supercast.com to learn more. We appreciate you very much. As always, making this a part of your day, part of your routine for saying yes to me on the show. If you see me, please say hi. And if you need anything else around your New Orleans Saints in between these episodes, make sure you follow me on your favorite social media at Ross Jackson, NOLA. Hit me up. Let me know how the family's doing. Let me know how you living. Let me know how you momming them. And trust you, that nation. I'll holla at you.